Welcome back to another video. Before I get started with today's topic, which is going to be all about heliotrope, which I have lately have realized is kind of a favorite note of mine when it comes to like easy to wear, often worn perfumes in my collection, or like decants I've been through really quickly, often tend to have this note in them. But before I get started, I just wanted to follow up on kind of some of my personal stuff. I had so much going in terms of looking for work, you know, in terms of like almost getting a job, and then in the end I didn't get a single one of them, which has really made me struggle with my self-confidence. And there have been so many emotions just going through me lately. I feel sad, disappointed, frustrated, stressed out, a little bit shameful. Like, why is this happening to me? Like, I have been a person who has had like 30 employees. I founded my own company that became quite big. I mean, not big, not like a big company, like on the stock market or anything, but like, I run my own, I know what I'm doing. Like I'm a professional. I've been a management consultant. I work with the good firms, and now I can't get a job. And I know that in Sweden, and I know in other parts of the Western world, maybe not so much in the US, because there you can become president when you're 80, but like, I'm only 54, but here that's considered old, which this is really unfortunate, because now I'm in a position now where I don't have to go, pick up my kids at daycare at 3:30 or 4:30 in the afternoon. I am freer than someone that's, 10 or 15 years younger. Anyway, so I'm kind of going through all these different feelings. I'm feeling lonely a little bit, like I don't have anywhere to go in the morning. And I feel like I might be the only one. I feel a little bit, I don't know, I'm a little understimulated, like my brain is not being put to use. That's the way I feel about it. But anyway, I have my perfumes, and I've also noticed perfumes are actually a big distraction. This morning, before my meditation, I just decided to list I realized that if I had not had a smartphone, I think I would have had a job by now. It's so darn distracting for me. So I just wrote down, I listed my distractions, and high up on the list, my phone in general is like the biggest distraction for sure, but like perfume is a big distraction, and therefore, and social media is on the list as well, and housework and other things like that. But I decided that this week is going to be, I'm only going to wear full bottles. From today, what is today, Wednesday, until next Wednesday, only wear full bottles. Not touch my decants, not touch my samples that I'm like trying to figure out. Because if I do, I tend to, research them. I listen to videos and I want to hear what other people think. It's a way of kind of like discussing a fragrance with people out there that I might not know, but that know the fragrance, and maybe they found something in the fragrance that I can find if I listen to them. And I start researching notes, and then I go back to my collection and I see, I try to find something that's similar, and I do side by sides, and I just get really, really caught up in this, and it takes so much time. So what I'm going to be doing, I'll let myself wear perfume, but I can't keep like evaluating new perfume like a big part of the day. I just don't have time to do that. And I've thought about, maybe I should just like put this aside for a little bit and focus on selling the house. That was another idea I had, because if I get a job, it's going to be really hard for me to move at the same time, because the move is going to be huge. I'm in a big house, and my plan is to move to something half the size, and there are only 2 people now moving. We were 5 people that moved in 2010, and my husband passed away. Now my 2 oldest kids have moved out. They've gone away to school. I don't know if they're coming back, but like right now there are only 2 people here and a cat. So I'm thinking of finding like a little row house, maybe with an outdoor, like a little outdoor area, and to be able to keep the cat, but just reduce my costs, because that'll take away some of my, like financial worry for sure. So that might be a way of doing it, because it's going to have to be done sooner or later anyway. So I don't know. But anyway, now to the video. I just kind of realized how much I love heliotrope. And heliotrope is a purple flower that kind of, the note is a little bit vanilla-like, a little almondy, a little bit sweet. And I find that it's often also powdery, like it comes off powdery. The notes that I really love powdery fragrances, and a lot of these that I'll talk about in this video are powdery, and I think to most people will be experienced as more feminine leaning fragrances for sure. I also, it's kind of hard to pick out the exact, like this is the heliotrope. I think it's used like with other powdery notes to me is like mimosa, rice powder, iris. I mean, there's a lot of notes that can be powdery that can give that same effect. But I think that, and there are different kinds of fragrances in this list, but most of them are floral, kind of powdery, slightly vanillic, slightly sweet-ish fragrances. And I'll start off with the 3 that I quite recently bought from the house Sous le Manteau. It's a French house, and this means under the cloak. It refers to a time in history where you had to hide the fact that you were carrying books. And these 3 were all created by Natalie Feisthauer, and they all have, there's definitely a DNA. They're all kind of powdery. And Essence du Serail is kind of like a basic white floral bouquet. I kind of, this one in Honor Woman, I kind of use, can be substituted for one another. I think that they fall into the same, they scratch the same itch. It's really, really beautiful white floral bouquet, even though it has Lily of the Valley. Let me see, does it have? Yeah, Lily of the Valley and Rose, which I typically don't like so much, but it has ylang ylang, some ambrette, vanilla, sandalwood, and heliotrope, and peach. So, I mean, there's a slight sweetness to it. Would I buy full bottle? No, I would not. But I love the fact that these come in 14 ml, and they're about $45, $50. Because then you can get 3 fragrances instead of just going for one. And I don't like the like non-transparent bottles. They're kind of opaque, matte, different color. They don't look bad. I just like to see how much there's left. So I much prefer these kind of transparent bottles. It's so easy to carry around. And I think it's a quite good price point considering I don't have to buy 50 or 100 ml. And then there's Cuir d'Orient, that was the fragrance that first got me interested in the house. And this is kind of close to, but not identical to Cuir de Beluga from Guerlain. This one maybe, this is really vanillic and in a good way. It reminds me also a little of Iris Prima from Penhaligon's. I do think that's slightly better, but that's discontinued. So when I run out of that, I'll be glad to have this. This is a really, really pretty fragrance. It also reminds me of Rêve de Cashmere from Van Cleef and Arpels. They're a more exclusive line that you can only find like in Dubai airport and somewhere in Paris. I saw it also at some jewelry store because Van Cleef and Arpels are primarily, they sell jewelry, like expensive jewelry. So, I mean, it's really, really pretty. I'm not a super vanilla person, but this particular one, I think it's because of the suede. It has suede, it has a Poponax, heliotrope, patchouli. It's a really good fragrance. And then I think that my favorite of the 3 that I think is this one, Poudre Impériale. This has some pepperiness. It has pink and black pepper. It has some incense. It has cardamom, but it's not a gourmand really. A little incense, also a little Lily of the Valley, a little jasmine. It's floral, it's vanillic, but it's more of a powder, slightly metallic fragrance with a little bit of a woody base. They're all beautiful. I really like those. They're really easy reaches. Then I've talked about this one many times, Vixere from Electimuss, which is a beautiful floral with a powdery, kind of a powdery midsection, and then it has kind of a nice floriental base with like the musk vanilla tonka patch. Such an easy wear. That's really good. It has a little bit of citruses in the top. Beautiful, easy wear. The only thing is that the sprayer is terrible and I can't spray it anymore. If I press here, it just runs down the length of the bottle, so I have to pump it out, and that really sucks. Okay, so a heliotrope dominant fragrance that I just recently picked up is this cheapie, Heliotrope Blanc by L.T. Piver. His name is Louis Toussaint. This was created actually in 1850. But this one is a little bit of a cheapie. It's kind of a cologne type concentration. It's an EDT, but it really smells a little. The vanilla in here, it doesn't have vanilla listed, but maybe it's the heliotrope, is a little bit close to like the kind of vanilla sugar we use in Swedish baking that's not real vanilla. Something about it isn't completely natural, but it's really, really fresh and sheer. It's kind of one of those, get out of the shower, spray it all over yourself, and then maybe it's gone in 2 hours. But it's really, really refreshing. I don't think I would have repurchased this though. It was cheap. Like this cost like me $40 or something, but for 100 ml. But I don't know. I don't think I would. It was kind of like I was in Paris. I wanted to buy something. So don't do that. Don't buy something just because it's cheap. It doesn't make any sense at all. And then there's Granada. This was my, from Memo. This was like one of my first niche fragrances that I bought. And I waited for a good deal and I found it online for $150 or something. And it's a really easy to like first step into niche kind of perfume. It has vanilla, it has some woodsy notes, it has pomegranate, and it has heliotrope. So it's slightly powdery. It's a flirtatious female. Everyone loves this kind of fragrance. But to me now, it has become a little bit boring. It's total, there's no challenge at all in here. There's no storytelling. There are no layers really. They're just kind of, it's just kind of high quality fragrance compared to the designer world. So when the first time I smelled this, I was like, oh wow, 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 wow. Like this is so darn good. And it's so much better than like your average C or from Armani or Flower Bomb or it's so good. It's so good. It's good, but it's just like, it's a little too perfect, I guess, for me at this point. And then I have Bijou Romantique from Etat Libre d'Orange, which doesn't have heliotrope listed, but I could swear that there is heliotrope in here. It's very powdery. It's kind of a slightly ambery, Shalimar-esque kind of fragrance. It's kind of similar to Opus 1144 from, is that brand Unum? Or it's Filippo Sorcinelli anyway, that has made that perfume. This has a little bit of the same vibe. This has a little tiny bit of coconut as well. I've thought about getting rid of this. I'll have to be honest and say that because it's like really good, but I don't know if I love it. Like when there are other full-on resinous ambers, I think I might prefer. It's nice. It's nice. I got it. I didn't pay full retail. Would I cry because it's discontinued? No, I would not. But it's a nice heliotrope type fragrance. Okay, let's see what else is on my list here. I took all these notes and just kind of went through my own collection. What do I have now? What have I been through decants of with, you know, in terms of heliotrope fragrances? And another one that I went through a decant really, really quickly, I've mentioned it before on this channel, is Sumo Wrestler from J Scent. That has some patchouli, some anise and eucalyptus, which gives it a nice little twist, but it's like super smooth and soft. It always felt right to wear it. Like I could wear it every day. It was that kind of fragrance. And I know that in Japan, I know that things are expensive in Japan, but this particular house is cheaper in Japan. So if you're going there, my friend is actually going there soon, and they do sell travel size. So I might ask her to get me one. And then I wanted to mention that not all perfumes that have heliotrope are good. You know, just like I said in my last video, I said, you know, I was talking about cloves and lily of the valley, and these kind of like notes that I find difficult can sometimes really work. But the opposite is also true. So a fragrance that I didn't like at all that has heliotrope is Cow from Zoologist. And Cow was created by the same perfumer that made these from Sous le Manteau, I mean. Terrible fragrance, really bad. Like it's a little bit milky, a little bit green, but it smells like shampoo. It's appley. It smells like apple. I don't know if I get any heliotrope in there, but I do get a little bit of milkiness. Maybe the powderiness and the milkiness can be, you know, like mistaken for each other. I'm not sure. I just think it's a really bad release from Zoologist. It was a disappointment. The perfumer's work is a disappointment, and the fact that Zoologist let that one out there, I think, is also really bad. Another one that I would not buy full bottle, but I probably will use up my decant, I forgot it upstairs, is Rouge Smoking from BDK. It's a cherry, let's see if it has orange blossom. Yeah, orange blossom, cherry, pink pepper. It has heliotrope. And then it also has, and I think this is my problem with this house and a lot of like modern houses, perfume houses that you know have popped up after, say, 2010, that they use a lot of like synthetic molecules like ambroxan, cashmere, iso-e-super, these kinds of molecules. And this one has ambroxan, and maybe I find that ambroxan, I don't know if I can pick it out like this, but often when I find that a perfume is like not very smooth, it's like too loud, it's just too, it has the corners are too sharp, it's just kind of shouting at you. Often I find ambroxan on the note list. So, and cashmere often come off as too sweet in a synthetic way. So BDK is not my favorite house. This is like the only, but Rouge Smoking is the only fragrance from the house that I've actually, I think, will maybe use up a decant of. Maybe. So I'm not a huge fan. Then there's the Guerlain, a few Guerlain fragrances I'd like to mention. One is Apres, which I thought meant after the rain, but it means after the storm. But it's a much more watery type of fragrance, like a garden after a big rainfall. And it's just starting to, you know, the flowers are starting to open up again. You can see the water on the petals. Really, really fresh and watery. This one has, let's see, it has, besides heliotrope, it also has like violet, orris, and mimosa, carnation, sandalwood, ylang ylang. It's like lots of florals, neroli. It's really fresh on the top. But I found this fragrance a little bit too boring for me. So, I passed on the decant I had. It was a modern version. I mean, the older formulas might be better. I don't know. And L'Heure de Nuit is really beautiful from Guerlain as well, which is a little bit powdery and a little bit fresh. I had a decant a long time ago and I used it pretty quickly, which is quite telling. Like, it's good. It's really good. I think that one has a little bit of an irisy side to it as well. Then there's another kind of fragrance, a decant that I just used up last week, and it's Café Cabanel from T.O. Cabanel, which is kind of a slightly gourmand and floral fragrance with a little vanilla. So it has like buttermilk, coffee, caramel, tonka vanilla, a little almond and lemon. It's, you know, it's not completely unlike this one, because I think this also has a little lemon in the top, kind of like Shalimar. But that one has more like coffee, butter, and milk. It's more milky. It's more gourmandy, but not a full-on gourmand. It was a full-on gourmand, like that cardamom type of heavy, like Remember Me, or that's not my style really, but I like this Café Cabanel. I don't think I will buy a full bottle though, even though I do recommend it, and it's because I'd rather try something else, like try something new. Even though I really did enjoy wearing it every time I wore it, I felt like, wow, this is really, really good. Café Cabanel by T.O. Cabanel. That was created by Cécile Sorokian, one of my favorite perfumers. Another really good one, but very light and low projecting, is Rose Arabia White by the Arabic house Vidian, or W. Vidian, that came out in 2022. This is like a beautiful, like wedding type fragrance. And besides heliotrope, it has freesia, ylang ylang, some plum, so like an incensey base, but it's like really sheer and beautiful. It's very bridal, I think, this one. And that one reminds me a little bit of Ravenna. And I can't remember the name of that house. It's a Russian house. Ravenna was also really, really beautiful. I just had a tiny sample and I loved those drops. I really would like a bottle of Ravenna, and I don't think that one is so expensive. Rose Arabia White is not that expensive either, but it doesn't last very long. You really have to spray a lot to get the effect, at least the effect that I want. So that does sort of make it more expensive, if you know what I mean. Okay, so then there's another one, another category of fragrance that sometimes has heliotrope, but not very often, is amber. This is one called Escapade à Byzance from Libre, and it was created by Bertrand Deschaffour. This particular amber, I'm not 100% sure that I like. I think it's a little bit loud, and it has like cinnamon, saffron, cloves, like a lot of heavy spices. I think I prefer ambers that are heavier on the resins, like that have, I mean, this one does have like, it has amber, benzoin, vetiver patchouli, etc. But I think I like the ones that have more like tolu balsam, myrrh, these kind of resins, maybe like styrax, opoponax, and not the heavy, food spices as much. This one was not a hit for me. Poudre de Cire is another great fragrance from Elixir. It was created by Alberto Morillas. Beautiful, beautiful iris powdery fragrance with heliotrope. Highly, highly recommend it. I have a little 8 milliliter vial of it. I could go full bottle. If I would like start running out of iris fragrances, I might actually look into this one. A fragrance, however, that I felt like I've grown out of and passed on to my son that has heliotrope is Metallic. Metallic from Tom Ford. It is too much. It's very balsamic, but it also has like too much. It's too sweet. It's too heavy. It does have a slightly metallic, which I couldn't pick up at first when I first had that one, but I can almost feel like it's like blood kind of. It has like a blood feeling to it. I like it on him, but it's so heavy. I can't wear it anymore. I mean, I used to love it. Speaking of Alberto Morillas, I would love to dig into his house, Maison Sur, because I'm sure that there are some great heliotrope fragrances among them. Like Ambre Magique, maybe. I don't know if that one has that. Poudre d'Or, I think means like gold powder. I'm sure that's a great fragrance. I've tried it, but I mean, I can imagine it might have heliotrope. Just want to see that I've mentioned all of these guys. Oh, I wanted to mention Blossom Love because I think it's important to also de-recommend things. This one from Amouage, I do not recommend because it's not bad. It's just not worthy to be called an Amouage because it is too much like a shampoo or a shower gel. It's just boring. It works if I layer it with like Epic Woman, I think Epic Woman's a little heavy to wear on its own, a little bit too spicy and incensey. And Blossom Love is kind of like, if I just put a slight top of Blossom Love on top together, they're just like, they really work together. But would I buy a full bottle of this? No, I would not. It reminds me a little bit of Rouge Smoking. It has a suede note. I don't think I I wouldn't be able to tell that it had a suede note. I just didn't think it's a Amouage disappointment. For sure. I think I mentioned all the other ones. Okay, anyway, so going through all of these, and I also went through like Fragrantica's list of heliotrope fragrances, and now I'm really curious about, I would love a decant of L'Eau d'Hiver from Frederic Malle. That one was created by Jean-Claude Elena, which is not my favorite perfumer. It's often too watery, but this one I think is really good. I've liked it like in store when I've tried it, but I've never been able to give it a proper wearing, which I very much would like to do. It also has Angelica, Honey, Iris. Scarlet Poppy Intense I'd like to check out from Jo Malone. That has heliotrope. And then there's one called Heliotrope from Etro, E-T-R-O. It's an Italian kind of designer that also make perfumes. They're a big value for money, that house. Rococo from The Merchant of Venice. That's supposed to be similar to Cacao Porcelana, so I'm really curious to try it. There's another one also called Heliotrope Blanc, same name as this, but the house is Oriza El Legrand. Love to try that. And then there's a new one from Perfumum Roma called Fresia with 2 C's, Fresia. And I haven't even heard of it. I just kind of found it. And I think it came out it's been out like for over a year. And maybe they don't have it in my local department store, or maybe I've just kind of missed it. I don't know, because I thought I knew this Perfumum Roma like my back pocket, but I guess I didn't. Anyway, so just to summarize, I think heliotrope, usually heliotrope fragrances, my throat is really dry. I don't really know why. I need to go drink some water right after this. I should do like Rich Mitch, have water close by and then just say, excuse me while I hydrate. Because when I talk, I do tend to get like my throat goes dry. Okay, guys, well, these were my recommendations and non-recommendations, like Rouge Smoking, I really don't recommend, and I don't recommend Apres L'Onde, and I don't recommend Blossom Love, but the other ones that I mentioned, this one is a maybe. I mean, for the money, it's really good, but I don't really believe in buying perfumes because they're cheap. I mean, this is nice. Like, if I would put something on like Epic Woman, and it's a little bit too heavy, then I can like just add some of this. That would be the meaning of this. Like out of the shower, put 15 sprays on, and it's gone in 2 hours. I mean, it's nice to have it, but would I repurchase it? No, I would not. So I'd love to hear your recommendations if you have some heliotrope fragrances that I might have missed here. And yeah. And I probably won't be, I am trying a lot of new stuff. I have loads of new samples from Hermetica, from Xerjoff, from the Guerlain Exclusive collection, from, what else? I have some new Chanel's exclusives. I have just lots of things to tell you about. I just kind of want to I want to give them proper wearings. And right now it's taking too much time. So I'm going to be wearing my own perfumes, my own bottles a lot. So because yeah, this takes so much time, or I might decide to move instead. And then that'll be my full-time job for maybe for 2 or 3 months. And then I'll look for work. I haven't made up my mind. I'm going to kind of dwell on it for a day or two. So we'll see, because I just feel like it needs to be done sooner or later. We can't be 2 people in this huge house. It just doesn't work. Most of the rooms are empty most of the time. So it doesn't work. It costs too much money. Okay, that was all for today, guys.